Hey, welcome to VMware Explore Barcelona 2024. It's been a great week. We've been talking about so many topics, talking to customers, talking to partners, talking to anybody with a good story, and this certainly is no exception. It's one of the sessions that's here this week. The actual session itself, I definitely recommend you look at if you get a chance. It's on demand. It's called FinOps in VMware Cloud Foundation. And the presenter for that session is here joining me today, Christian Ferber. Christian, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us. I saw you've had several sessions this week, and you've been talking a lot about FinOps and other things, but mainly around ARIA. And as I understand it, FinOps is actually a tool inside of VCF operations, correct?
Exactly, yes. FinOps is a capability inside VCF operations, which previously was a separate tool, right? But now we decided to put it back, as it makes a lot of sense if you're calling metrics and all of this stuff. Then you can also work with like cost data and financial data in the same platform, which aligns pretty much to the resources that are defined there.
Yeah, I want to learn more about that. But before we even go there, let's just back up and talk about like what exactly is FinOps itself, like the term, like what exactly is that?
Yeah, I would consider FinOps being the way on how you financially make visible how much resources are consumed and how much cost is associated in a company, right? The companies all have their challenges, right? They are not able to expose their cost. They cannot justify what they are doing, more or less. So they are looking into ways to make that transparent, to show their users, their consumers, even their management on how much resources and cost they associate with that, right? And also it's not only about showing up, but it's also about how to operate that, right? How to make it more efficient, how to save resources, or even how to charge their consumers on what they are actually using. So I think I would call that the FinOps strategy, right?
Yeah, I would imagine that's got to be really hard to do in general. Like just trying to figure out exactly how much stuff costs, because things change constantly, and the amount of demand that you need would obviously change the amount of storage that you need, the amount of networking that you're using. Is there bursting involved? I would imagine that trying to understand exactly how much you're spending could be really difficult, but also really important because leadership's going to want to know that information. So what are some of the challenges that you see your customers facing as it pertains to FinOps?
Yeah, actually, I mean, you named it, right?
Oh, great, we're done now. Just kidding.
the people, they're doing hard to keeping up with what they have in their data center. So what they are typically doing is they are maintaining some Excel lists or some files and put some data there, but this might change, right? And the consumption especially might change in an IT department, right? If you purchase a notebook or so, that will not change. But if you purchase a machine or so, or resources, that changes all the time. So that's their challenge, actually. And what they are doing is and what we help them, right, is we help them to get this data into a system which has an automated process to evaluate where the cost is associated, how they put it onto virtual machines or objects of all types, right? And how they make them visible to their consuming departments, because a department is not always a strict borderline, right? It can be something dynamic because teams come up and they leave or change. So they need to have a way to do that very dynamically. And I think that's how FinOps will come into the customers more and more using our technology, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe because it's the first time I've actually heard of people doing this with FinOps, maybe you could just give me an example of what that would look like if I'm an IT administrator and I want to actually show my leadership how much we're spending and what this looks like. How would I go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, where it all starts is people invest in some hardware, in some infrastructure resources, in their data center, their cooling or what have you, right? And now that's some cost that's just on their cost center, right? But what they actually want to know is the service that I'm offering in my data center, how much is associated to my service? So, and that's this big gap which they have, where they have to handle that. And what we are helping them is to get this data knocked down to the real service that is being provided and to show up how much the service causes in terms of cost, right? And we sum that up, we show that in graphs, we show that in tables, and this is especially also important for the management, IT management. They want to have a report. They want to see, oh, look, this department is causing that cost, the other one is causing that cost, that is more efficient, that is less efficient. So that's all the data that we provide and where we are talking to customers how to achieve that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. Okay, so customers, they're able to, this is something that's part of VMware Cloud Foundation, it's part of the VCF, the FinOps tool is actually built internally into the VCF. This is not like something separate that I need to actually purchase, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good thing because they are using our operations tools for other purposes already, most of them, right? Not all of them, but we want to bring them to that. And if they do that, then it's just another functionality, another feature they turn on and then they can just leverage the same ways on presenting data, the same ways of consuming data, with also the FinOps financial data. And that's, I think, the very interesting thing around
I like that. I like that. So you've had several sessions around this topic, and I know you've been talking to customers and attendees here. What was some of the themes that you've heard from folks about this area? Like, what is the interest that you're getting from this?
Yeah, I think most customers are really like, we want to have that, right? But we are not yet there from a process perspective. So they have challenges to have process, to make things visible to users, to even force them to do things, right? Because of course, to save resources, return off resources, and all of these things. So they are a bit concerned about the process, how they can implement that. And I mean, that's perfectly fine. Like if you look at the customers, nothing is coming from one day to the other, right? That's an evolving process, and we help them to do that with a supporting tool set, and this gives them more sustainable ways to manage their cost and their structures, right? We also, I think one of the feedback I was giving was, look, most of the systems we are getting, they give us an empty system where we can put in a price and cost and so on. We are a bit different. So we are giving them all data from some reference data, put it into the system, and they see something already. Yeah. They can tailor it, but then they are able to customize it as much they need, and they can immediately take value from it. Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. So what does somebody do if they want to actually get started using this inside of VCF? What would they do?
Yeah, it's rather simple. They have to install our solution, which is, I mean, for most admins, it's like 1 hour time they need to spend, put some resources in there, like CPU, memory, and all of this stuff. And once it's up and running, we are scanning basically the infrastructure, and we are getting already the cost data from what they have, right? So it's maybe a 1-2 hour process. Then they see some data already. They can look at the dashboards, at the reports, which are prepared. And then usually, I mean, according to the processes, they need to tailor it to some extent. So they're not to put in their own cost, maybe create a dashboard for their manager, which tailors more what their customer wants to have, or what their manager wants to have. And maybe also they want to put up a pricing table, right, or something like that, where they charge their consumers, where they define prices. That's what they need to do, but that's a evolving process. But they can immediately start with what they have today. Yeah?
Sounds like it. It's an exciting topic. It's an exciting idea. I can't wait to get home and actually download and watch the full deep dive on your session. I look forward to that. Christian, thank you so much for joining us on Virtually Speaking, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you very much, Pete. It was a pleasure.